A lot has already been said and done, written and seen about the new iPhone XS and the XS Max. So, in this video, I'll be talking about things I experienced when checking these phones out, using them for a while, and writing my review. My name's Nikhil, and this is the iPhone XS review. As we all know, Apple announced the iPhone XS, XS Max, and the XR earlier in September. Since then, the iPhone XS, the XS Max have been available, and very recently, the iPhone XR also became available. However, in this video, I'll be only focusing on the XS and the Max, so keep that in mind. The iPhone XS and the XS Max are the logical successors to the iPhone X, which debuted last year, and it was the first device of its kind in the iPhone family, and it kind of changed how iPhones will be for the next 4 years. Apple traditionally uses the same hardware design, the external shell, generally for a span of 4 years. Now, we've already had 2 iterations of this, so we'll probably see 2 more over the next few years, and finally the design will change later on in 2021. What's mainly changed between the iPhone X and the XS is the new CPU. The iPhone X had the A11 while the iPhone 12 has the A12 chip, and the new camera module on the back. There's also a new faster Face ID, although I believe this is mostly software and has pretty much nothing to do with the hardware, because the hardware mostly has remained unchanged. Undoubtedly, the A12 performs way better and way faster in almost everything it is supposed to do compared to the iPhone X. The phone boots up faster, it launches apps faster, the animations are a lot smoother, and the list goes on. And this is expected as Apple iterates year over year on their SoC design. This is also the first SoC Apple has manufactured using the 7nm process compared to the A11, which used the 12nm process. Now, if you consider that Apple did not make any changes to the SoC design itself except change the manufacturing process, that would still yield higher performance, more IPC, and more power efficiency by keeping literally everything else mostly the same. So just by going down to the 7nm process, Apple got a huge bump in almost everything on the SoC, and that is great to see. I believe this is also the first 7nm chip in a mass production device that is out there in the consumer market. Now, when Apple spoke about the display, it was claiming higher dynamic range, more contrast, and so on. The display still supports Dolby Vision and HDR10, just like the iPhone X does, and I put that test to the claim. So when you are viewing HDR video, you will notice that the video looks mostly the same, and that's because that is the color range by which the video is limited to. So for videos, you will not see the difference immediately unless the video has been mastered to take advantage of this expanded dynamic range and color accuracy. Now, if you also notice that the iPhone XS Max here has a screen protector applied on top of it, and because of that, the output, the luminosity output of that device is very, very low. The color contrast is also much lower, as well as the saturation, and this is all because the screen protector that is on this phone acts as a polarizing filter. So it kind of cuts out the light that is coming out from the display, and this kind of has a very negative effect on your day-to-day use, where you will find yourself constantly bumping up the brightness compared to what the phone thinks is right in that particular situation, therefore draining your battery faster. So as far as possible, avoid putting a screen protector on your iPhone X, XS or XS Max. In the audio department, things have mostly remained the same, although Apple has stopped providing the free Lightning to 3.5mm adapter. Well, not technically free, but you get my point. And that is kind of a bummer, and I believe Apple is pushing more and more users to use wireless earphones like Apple's EarPods or offerings from literally any other company. Now let's talk about that camera. It can shoot higher frame rates for slow-mo videos, but the real deal here is the camera quality itself, with the new module, with the new sensors, and the new image signal processor that Apple has included in the A12 chip. Very first thing you'll immediately notice is that the camera on the iPhone XS does way better compared to the iPhone X in terms of dynamic range in the scene. And this is thanks to the new image signal processor that is built into the A12 chip. And overall, you'll notice that the image is a lot more sharper, has much more detail in there compared to the image coming from the iPhone X, even if we bring them down to the same resolution. It is also interesting to note that both of these images were shot in RAW, and you can notice a slight temperature difference between the two. So the iPhone XS prefers a slightly cooler tone to the entire image, while the iPhone X prefers a slightly warmer look to the entire image. So that is something to keep in mind if you are going to be processing and trying to match images from two different phones. You may want to keep that in mind and kind of balance that out. One place where the iPhone X did do better than the iPhone XS is when shooting this particular flower. The iPhone X kept the colors very close to what it appears to be in real life, whereas the iPhone XS kind of gobbled up the whole thing and it looks very, very unnatural. When you're shooting landscapes directly in the sun, the iPhone XS is leaps ahead compared to the iPhone X. As you can see here, the dynamic range in the scene itself is so good compared to the shot from the iPhone X. And up until this year, earlier this year, the iPhone X was Apple's best smartphone camera. And just in a snap, Apple kind of, destroyed everything, and the XS is the new king. Between the XS and the XS Max, the camera modules are the same, the image signal processor is the same, so which one you pick is no longer constrained by the size of the phone. No matter which one you pick, you're going to be getting the same end result. Now, coming back to Apple's claim about the display having higher dynamic range and being able to show more colors, it wasn't noticeable when we were watching that HDR video. However, it is visible when you view the same photo, which is shot on the iPhone XS, in this case on the iPhone XS and the iPhone X. As you can see on the iPhone XS, the sky is a little lighter compared to that on the iPhone X, and the iPhone X kind of slightly compresses the color range that it's trying to show, whereas the iPhone XS is showing you the entire color range that it captured on that image. And it is just very evident that Apple's claims can be held to be true. I don't want to leave this entire video without acknowledging that the iPhone XR now exists and that you can now buy it. In the next segment, I'll be talking about who should buy which phone, and it's a recommendation, but the iPhone XR is definitely out there. I went to the store and tried it, and it is most certainly a gorgeous phone. And when you hold the two displays side by side at a distance of 1.5 feet or further, you can barely tell the difference between the Liquid Retina and the OLED screen, between the XS and the iPhone XR. So always keep that in mind if you're planning to buy any one of these devices. So who should be buying the iPhone XS or the XS Max, and who should be buying the iPhone XR if you are in the market for a new phone? Well, I've kind of made this simple chart. So let's start from people who don't have an iPhone or don't have a phone and this is going to be their first phone purchase. I would definitely recommend the iPhone XR for you lot because it is just a beautiful, beautiful phone. And for the cost difference between the XR and the XS Max, or just the XS, well, it's a huge gap and you'll be saving a lot of that money. You can probably buy 2 sets of AirPods in that money. So yeah, definitely the iPhone XR for you guys, because the XR also has the same wide angle camera as the XS and XS Max. Now, if you have a iPhone 6, 6S, 7 or 8 or any of the Plus variants, what you can do is consider the iPhone XS or the XS Max if and only the new camera system makes sense for you. If you don't need the telephoto lens or the actual portrait effect thing that Apple is doing, you can completely skip that lineup and stick with the iPhone XR. However, if you are a photographer and you want this in your arsenal, well then definitely consider it. If you are an iPhone X user, there is no point upgrading to any other phone this year unless you really want those new optics. So now you have 2 sets of options here. In whichever upgrade path you choose, you can either go for the iPhone XR or the iPhone XS and XS Max. And which one you go for entirely depends on what you want from these phones. If you have an extensive HDR movie collection and you want to watch those while you're on the go, or just you enjoy watching these on your phone, well, the iPhone XS becomes the default option for you. If you want the new camera modules and the new camera system and the new ISP, which is, well, in any case available in either of these, the new XS is definitely the upgrade path for you. But if you don't care for any of those and would like a phone in that specific form factor, then definitely go for the iPhone XR and save yourself some money. So these are only my recommendations. I would still recommend you to do your own research and then buy any of these phones because they are very expensive. So let's not ignore that fact either. Well, if you've liked this review, hit the like button. If you did not like it, that's pretty fine. You can hit that other button or let me know in the comments what you disliked about it. And if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.